All right, so I want to start with something that most of us have probably done in the last week, maybe in the last 24 hours. You finally sit down, the day is over, you pour a little drink, you grab the snack, you turn on the show, maybe, probably all three of those, and you tell yourself, like, I've earned this. I just need to chill. I just need to lay low, and you stay there for hours. And then you wake up the next day and you're still tired.
Mm-hmm. Can confirm, can feel that one for sure.
I don't even think you can figure out why, because you did the chill out thing, you did the rest thing, but it didn't work. And so this episode is about why. The thing that we're calling rest, it's not restoring us. We keep trying to do it anyway, but it costs something.
And look, I'll go ahead and just show our cards on the table. Like, this isn't an episode about getting more sleep or learning a new bedtime routine. It's not that. This is, at its heart, this really is the own it style episode. So for what it's worth, buckle up.
This is the nature of everything. Don't stay stuck.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Nature of Everything. I'm Bo.
And I'm Clint. And this is part 2 of our series of coming back to yourself. Quick note, if this is your first time, hit pause and go back to part 1 first. Last Friday, we named the condition, which is highway hypnosis. That's what we were talking about. And we'd like for you to go back and check that out because that's really the foundation for today's episode.
And one quick thing for anybody that is new. We run everything through an acronym, through a framework that we call COIN. Confirm it, own it, be intentional, and change the nature of everything. And look, there's a book by a very similar name, our book. And the best place to start to check all this out is thenatureofeverything.com. There's articles, there's like a free daily check-in, and you can always get in touch.
And listen, the reason we're moving fast through the recap today is because today is the actual doing part. It's the application. So we confirmed last week, and so today we own it. Today's not about new information. It's about looking at what we already know and not flinching.
Yeah, that last part, that's important. We have to look ourselves in the face.
So let's start with how this actually happens, because almost nobody plans for this. Nobody wakes up at 25 and goes, hey, you know what? I'd like to be 40 and quietly tired and slowly disconnected from everything that I care about and love. That's never been on anybody's vision board. But you know what? Holy crap, here we are.
Yeah, I should totally add that to my vision board goal. Be quietly tired in 15 years.
Well, just being honest. How does this actually happen? Well, it happens through what we'd call the slow no, as it is. Like every day you say a tiny little no to yourself, like no to the exercise. No, I'm not going to work out today. I'll do it tomorrow. No to the real conversation. Yeah, I don't want to get into that today. Like no to the creative thing that you used to love and be so passionate about because, well, you're just so tired. You're so busy. None of those feel like these big quote unquote no moments. They each feel like sort of reasonable at that time. Like, I'm tired, tomorrow will be fine. I'll get to it. But you know what? Once things calm down, like when does that happen? When do things just calm down?
Yeah, we said that last week, like they don't just calm down.
They don't. And you wake up and 3 years later, you're still saying, well, I swear once things calm down, and you know what? Now, what really happens is that slow no to yourself. Now that's become your practice. That's become your habit. That's become your routine.
Yeah. And look, here's what I think is the cruelest part of the fade. You never broke, there wasn't a crash. It just settles in. It's almost like you'd rather have a crisis, because then at least somebody might intervene and check on you. The fade, though, it just kind of hums along slowly, slow erosion. You stay functional. People might even say you're crushing it. We hear all kinds of reinforcement. But meanwhile, you feel it on the inside. But sadly, unless you take this moment to stop and confirm it and take ownership, You can't even point to anything specific.
Yeah, and the crazy part is that the world around us seems to like really reward this fade that we go through. And that's the part that we really want everyone to hear is that you get more responsibility, more praise. People say, I just don't know how they do it. And on the inside, you're going, shit, I don't know how I do it either. Just so happens it's not really working. But there's no real exit route because nothing looks broken and crushed and it just doesn't look that way. It looks like Bo said all the time. It looks fine. It looks fine on the outside.
But that is the trap because the fade, it's not going to fix itself. It only ends in two ways. Either something forces you to stop, like your body, a relationship, something, or the harder one even is that you decide to stop pretending.
Absolutely. And we want to model option two today because option one's pretty brutal. I don't
It's
want that. All right, Bo. You and I were talking before we recorded, and both of us have, some pretty significant slow no's to put out on the table.
Yeah, this is where we're both in this part, okay? Not just me. I mean, I'll go first because I was dumb enough to bring it up and say,
Your
hey,
fault.
we need to bare our soul. But look, I mean, what I'd like to speak to is, like some places that I've been fading. And they're places that I think a lot of people can relate to. And one of those, like if you're in a relationship with somebody, maybe you feel this. Maybe your romance, maybe that romantic part of you has been fading. And that doesn't mean your relationship, like you're intact. I mean, there's no big thing like we're talking about. But like that romance, that choosing, that intentional showing up, those dates that might not happen anymore because you're too tired. You've been running everybody around. Or those conversations that they get traded, instead for just kind of scrolling on your phone or, instead of that kiss goodnight, you just kind of mumble through it. Good night. See you tomorrow. And look, here's the thing. I think every modern couple deals with some version of this. We're all busy. We're all tired. We're all reaching for something easier. So look, I'm not just pointing at myself and I'm certainly not pointing at my partner. I want to move to the model. And I want to think that this particular topic is pretty universal. But what we have to do is we have to look in the mirror first. Because before you can point at what somebody else is or isn't doing, you have to look at yourself and maybe what you're doing or not doing or what you've stopped doing. And that's the practice. That's the move. Because if both people in a partnership are pointing at the other person and nobody's looking at themselves, that's when the fade just keeps going. But if one of you will start to look in the mirror, sometimes the other person follows. I mean, sometimes they don't. But you can only do what's yours.
Yeah, and you know what? I wanna back that up because to your point, I think this does land universally. Everybody's in the same thing. Like plenty of people start a relationship and realistically like the romance piece is the easiest thing in the world. It's effortless and we all know that time goes by and life happens and there are plenty of times to stop choosing it like choosing the romance because you start sort of assuming it and before you know it you've gone weeks or months without anything that actually has that romantic feel to it. You're just sort of, I'd say, co managing or coexisting. And the move that Bo's naming, like looking at the mirror first, that really is the move. Like, that's the move because the temptation when you fade is to blame the conditions. Like we've been busy, the kids and work and all the things that we're talking about. Like that's the temptation is to blame all of those things. And it again, it's not that those things don't exist, and it's not that those things aren't real. But the mirror in this situation is a lot more useful than blaming those conditions.
Yeah, and look, the thing is that the mirror move to look yourself in the mirror, that's way harder than the blame game. It's way harder than complaining. Like it's harder than waiting for somebody to bring something up. It's the only one that actually moves the needle.
Absolutely. All right. So what's the next one for you?
I mean, I think the next one is, my current cardio program, which is the trip from the couch to the fridge. It's a great program, highly underrated.
I mean, it's solid. Well, I mean, I wouldn't don't judge it too hard. There's compound movement there. It's low impact, less likelihood for injury. So I don't see the problem.
Yeah. So like I used to run 12, 15 miles a week, and that was just normal. It was just what I did. And somewhere over the past several years, I've let busy and tired become the reasons that I don't run anymore. And those are the reasons I tell myself, busy, tired. But the truth is, I quit on it. Like,
Mm,
I haven't been honest about that.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And look, the wild part about the body and exercise, and anybody who's ever worked out consistently knows this. You don't run because you have energy.
Mm-hmm.
You have energy because you went running.
That's right.
And so the moment that I started to use, like I'm tired, as a reason to stop, I locked myself into the cycle. The not moving made me more tired,
That's right.
which made the not moving just more justifiable, which made me even more tired. I mean, it's a stupid cycle, and then it compounds and it changes your belt loop structure.
Yeah, it's a compounding issue for sure. And look, I completely get it. I've got my own version of that. Likewise in running, but similar, there's a thing that I used to do for myself physically that I just don't do anymore. And I tell myself that it's all about, the timing of it, but it's really not about how much time I have. It's that the bar got too high in my head and showing up at the lower version felt like
Mm.
settling. So in a lot of ways, I just stopped showing up that way.
Man, that's the real one. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the bar in your head being too high
Mm-hmm.
becomes the reason you don't do anything.
Don't do anything, and it's still true that anything is better than nothing. Again,
Something is always better than nothing.
better than nothing, right? And that's still the move, but oftentimes anything also feels like a failure if you're used to doing something to a certain standard, right? And so now below that standard doesn't feel good. So we choose nothing, and to your point, like that's the trap.
Yeah, and this too. I mean, these examples that we're sharing because I think that they're universal. Like we can all relate to, or a lot of people can
Mm-hmm.
relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
To the little match in your romance getting a little softer. Getting
Sure.
your tummy getting a little softer because you stopped exercising.
Indeed.
Like every person listening has some version of this. A
Mm-hmm.
fitness thing, a health thing, body thing, something that you used to do, but you quit on it. But you quit quietly. And the fix is not a new program. The fix is to own that you quit.
Yep.
All right, so look, the third one, and this one is the most sensitive because it's ironic and kind of stupid when I look at it.
Nice setup. All right, go ahead.
So, look, the Nature of Everything podcast, it takes time and it adds something to the plate. And because it's good, we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do a good thing and we're proud of it. And because it serves people, like, because we're trying to grow something real, I'm going to say that sometimes even that has become the reason that I can let myself off the hook for other good things. Like, well, I've got to work on this. I've got to
Mm-hmm.
got to plan out the podcast, got to do these things. And after all that, I mean, I just deserve to chill.
And you know what? Like, I can completely agree. I confess I do the same thing. I mean, I've used the work that we're doing as kind of I don't know, call it like a moral credit, I guess. Like, I just help people on a podcast for an hour. I mean, really, but I tell myself, well, now I did my thing. I knocked that out, so I can just kind of zone out for a bit. And realistically, like we've talked about, like the math doesn't work out. But I mean, the brain accepts it, but it's not right.
Yeah, the brain does. The brain is the co-conspirator.
Yeah, it's the complete accomplice to all of the things that you don't need. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, here's the part that I want everybody to really hear. That is the trap. It's
Mm-hmm.
real. It's a
Mm-hmm.
human pattern. All the good things, that we do, they can become kind of a hiding place if you're not careful. Maybe you do some volunteer work or you do church things or you have your own kind of side project, the big cause in your life. All of them can become a reason to actually skip to practice. And that's why it's ironic because we're trying to grow ourselves and yet it keeps us from growing, does it?
Well, I mean, Here's where this episode like kind of turns into like self-flagellating direction in its own way, because it's like, oh, we're frauds, we talk about practice and we're not practicing. Well, but that's still not, that's not the right frame, because the framework is actually built for this.
Totally. Totally. I mean, and look, that's the part that matters the most. The coin framework, this confirm it, own it, be intentional, change the nature of everything, it doesn't let the trap stay. Like, when you're in the pattern for long enough, like when you really sort of embody the idea of the coin framework, that C, confirm it, it's always going to kick in. And you're going to have to look at it and then own it, like we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like then be intentional about what's next. The framework calls me back, and that's why we built it.
That's why having, a specific practice does matter. Not because the practice prevents the fade, like you can't, but everybody does. Everybody fades. The practice, however, it catches the fade. It notices it, that practice brings you back. That's the whole point.
Yes, that trap doesn't go away, and yes, it does. I mean, it's all very true. It's kind of the whole episode, and we just wanted to be really honest that even in doing the pot, I mean, if we were going to have in some imposter syndrome, like now's the time, right? Like we're frauds, we're fake. No, coin is true. The
right.
framework is true, but that doesn't mean that the trap doesn't care.
Just so happens. Yeah. And in saying that, for everybody listening, if you've been using like your good thing, your main push or your cause as your hiding place, well, guess what? You're not a fraud. You're not a hypocrite. Just so happens you woke up as a human. Like, congratulations. The question isn't whether you fall into the trap. The question is whether you have something built that allows you to get out of the trap, to bring you back. That's the difference between just being busy and being intentional.
All right, so that was number 3. We named 3 of them, right? Romance, fitness, the good thing trap, And look, we're not going to be able to fix any of those today.
Not today. Today we just look at it. Let's bring it back to where we started then. The Saturday night thing. The wine and the show and waking up Monday still tired. Like, why isn't chilling out? Why is that not working?
And I want to set this up and frame this correctly because we're going to introduce somebody else's ideas. One of the things that I've gotten allergic to in personal development is just learning more lists. That's not what we want to do here.
Please, no. No more lists. I don't want more lists.
Carousels on Instagram. Jeez Louise. Okay. Look, that's the trap. I mean, we collect these frameworks like they're Pokemon cards or something. I mean, oh, here's a new list of 7 things. Now I have the secret. It's like, no, you don't. You have a list. The list is not the practice.
Absolutely. And like you said, we want to be careful here because what we're about to share is good stuff. It really is helpful. And just so happens it is research backed. Like that's important. But it doesn't do anything if all you do is hear it or just learn the list. The framework is a tool for ownership. Let me say that again. The framework is a tool for ownership, not a substitute for it.
And look, I want you to walk us through it, but I do want to say whenever you bring out the research, because you've been charged with that part, maybe we need to have like a little research bell that rings that says, Clint did research on this. Shing. All right, anyway,
All right,
go ahead, tell us.
You're going to need to add that to our next sets. All right. So the research for this one is from Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith. She's a board certified internal medicine physician, and she wrote a book called Sacred Rest. And the core idea is this: sleep is one of 7 kinds of rest. Not the only one. Hear that again. Sleep is one of 7 kinds of different rest. There's a reason why this matters. When most of us are tired, we just do the same thing. We try to sleep more, zone out more, chill out, whatever it is. But if you're tired isn't a sleep tired, well, then more sleep isn't going to fix it. Wow. We're applying the wrong tool to the wrong problem.
That sounds awesome. Like, run through the list. I mean, like, I'm not writing them down, but I mean, run through them so we can know.
All right. So here are the 7 types: physical, mental, sensory, emotional, social, spiritual, and creative. That's the actual list.
I'm not going to write this down, like I said, and I do want to put that maybe in a list on the show notes or something like that, or make those available on our website. Maybe
Hmm.
after this is all wrapped up, we'll put something together. But like, let me say this, like, again, we don't need more lists. We're going to continue to talk about this, but if you want the lists, like, Google that person up. Like, what I want to do is really talk about how this applies to owning it, because the list isn't the point. The point is once you know maybe where you're depleted, you can take ownership of it. And owning it means something specific. Like, it means recognizing that you have agency, that you can change this. And unfortunately, nobody's coming to fix it for you. I'll go first. So for me, I know personally that those areas that you mentioned, the ones that kind of stood out to me are like sensory, social, and creative. I work on a computer screen, but then I rest on computer screen, on a
Exactly. Yeah.
TV,
Hmm.
like that can't be right.
Yeah.
Like I have to look at that. Like
Hmm.
sensory, like I'm around people in transactional ways all day. But, maybe I'm starving for somebody who actually fills me up.
Sure.
Like socially, like I'm output, 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 but I don't have any input. Like, I need more creativity in my life, right?
Mm.
Like even in a quote unquote creative business, it kind of turns into just get her done.
Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense because what you described, sort of like coldly, is that the wine and the show on Saturday night, again, that's more sensory input on top of an already sort of maxed out sensory overload to your system that you've already had. So the thing that you're reaching for to feel better is actually, it seems right, but it's counterintuitive because it's actually making it worse.
Yeah. So, I mean, now I'm sitting here thinking that there's no wonder that Monday is always tough, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sleep deprived, I'm sensory overloaded. And those are totally different problems and they
Yeah.
have different fixes.
Well, and which is cool because here's like the agency part, like the application part for you specifically, Bo, because nobody else is going to manage that for you. Jess isn't going to come in and take your phone away, right? Your
Let her
kids aren't.
try.
Yeah, exactly. The kiddos aren't gonna come in and build in a quiet hour for you. Like
Mm-mm.
that's good luck there. And of course, the people in the business world, they're never going to give you a sensory break because that's what you do. I mean, the depletion, however, is yours, and the response to it is also yours.
I mean, I just have to sit here and take the hit,
Yeah, right.
because for years, I think low key, I've been kind of waiting on somebody to step in and hand this to me to give
Mm-hmm.
me the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Like the world owes me a break, because I've been working hard. Gosh, I'm entitled. I mean, the
Yeah,
world doesn't owe me anything.
sure.
The world's going to keep being loud. The phone's going to keep going off. The emails are going to keep coming in. And the only person who's going to build sort of a sensory break in my life is me. And I have to own that.
Sure. And I've got my own. Some are the same, like the mental piece. Quite often, like I seem as though I've got, things lined out pretty easy and I'm organized and all this stuff, but like my brain feels like it's just racing all the time, and like I never am able to just kind of set that down. And likewise on the creative side, I am a creative, like, we're authors. Music is huge to me, but oftentimes I feel like the creative piece of me to solve things at my day-to-day job doesn't allow for me to have as much creativity outside because the word pops up again is that, man, I'm too tired.
Look, and that is the hard part, and I think it's the hard part that most of us want to turn away from. Because as long as we're framing it as I'm just busy or the world's just so much, you're just a victim of that. But
Mm-hmm.
the minute that we admit it, the minute that we can remember that we're in charge of ourselves, but we
Mm-hmm.
haven't been taking charge of ourselves, that changes things.
Sure. And to your point, like that's the real own it move of this. Like confirming is naming what's wrong, and owning it is recognizing that you have a hand in it and that the response is yours to make. Not because it's your fault, but Because it's your life.
I love these bumper sticker moments. Not
Again,
because it's your fault, but because it's your life.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
that's
that's a
just
good one.
that's the whole thing. All right, so look, I want to do something a little different here when we're closing out. I don't want to wrap this up neat because if we wrap it up neat, we're done with the series, right? You're going to
Not-
close this and you're going to think like, yeah, that was good. It was a good episode, but then you're just going to go back to your day and nothing's going to change. And again, that's the trap. It's the trap of personal development in general. We put a bow on the end of the episode and we say, hey, we're done with this. And you feel good and we feel good, but the bow's the problem. It lets you off the hook.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely not tying a bow on this one.
No.
Mm-mm,
So
mm-mm.
let me ask, wherever you're listening, to actually sit with what we said today and not in the abstract. And I'm not just talking to you, I am going to sit
Mm.
with this today and reflect on the things that we've talked about. Because, here's what tends to happen. We'll listen and we'll think like that was good, past tense, but it is good. It's just good, right? It's good
Mm-hmm.
stuff to think about. When you have that thought, I'm tired. I'm just depleted. Like, come on, man. Like, remember this episode. Remember that you have agency and that you're the only one who can move the needle.
And that last part, you're right. That is what changes things. It's not the diagnosis of what's going on. This is what we've learned. Like the moment you actually own that you have a hand in your own situation, and not only a hand, you have the hand in your own situation, even just the smallest stuff, it shifts things, it changes things. Even before you really do anything, recognizing your agency in this. The minute you stop waiting for someone to rescue you, you're already moving. You're already making the moves.
Yeah, and I think that's so important to point out. Even before you do anything,
Mm-hmm.
that it sounds backwards, but it's just true. The act of confirming it and naming it and taking ownership of it, it just changes something energetic about how you carry the problem or just how you carry yourself through the day. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and you become a participant in your own life. That's weird. Of course you are. But I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's what owning it is for. It's not about guilt. It's not about blame and shame. It's not about beating yourself up for fading. Like, it's not about any of that. It really is about looking at where you are, recognizing your hand in it, and quietly, without performance, without being dramatic, just simply accepting that the move from here is all in your lap.
And look, I'll tell you what I've noticed in myself, even from us just talking through the different three ways that, I feel the fade earlier in this episode, romance and fitness and that good thing, we're doing the good thing. Like, I'm not lighter because I've fixed them. I haven't fixed any of them. But it makes me feel lighter because I'm not pretending anymore and I've named some things. And not recognizing things is heavier. That's heavier to carry than naming them.
Mm-hmm.
And look, underneath, that pretending, that quiet little belief that somebody else is supposed to fix this, it's also a little bit lighter to realize that nobody is. And that frees me a little bit because now I can get to it.
Absolutely. And to your point, like pretending, I mean, it costs more than owning every time. So just sit with that for a second because I think a lot of people listening are running at like this crazy, exhaustive, low-key pretending operational system in the background of their lives to where it's just a constant, grind. And the cost of pretending, again, is way more than what you're going to pay to own it because realistically, and I get it, and we all feel it, like taking ownership, it hurts for a minute. It does. And it can be uncomfortable. But pretending, if you're pretending, it hurts and it bothers you and it wears you down and it exhausts you for every second that you spend pretending.
Sit with it for a minute. Where have I been waiting on somebody else to fix this?
As long as you're waiting, you're still just being stuck. And the minute you stop waiting, boom, now you're back into the practice piece.
Look, and next Friday, that's where we're going to get into the how to actually move. The toolkit. We're going to give you some practices so that you can return to yourself. But look, none of this works, without what we did today. Like, that's the thing. It's like you can't get to part 3 where we're going to suggest some things that might be helpful to be intentional and move forward. Because if you don't own it, with the agency part, no tool is going to help you. No list is going to help you. You're just going to collect another bit of information and stay stuck.
Just another bit of information, just another list. None of that works unless you're actually practicing.
Even coin. Like, it doesn't work unless you're practicing. That's it. I mean, that's the whole thing. All
right. So next Friday, part 3, the return. That's where we're going to get practical. The actual toolkit for coming back around. 5 moves, real practices, the kind that work when you're tired, not just when you're at 100%.
And look, I'll tease this. Part 3 is also where we're going to announce something that we've been building behind the scenes. We've been talking about the community, a place to actually do this together. So make sure that you're following the show and tell somebody about it for part 3. Tell one person who needs to hear this. That's our only ask.
Absolutely. And look, if you've been with us for a while, seriously, thank you for hanging out with us, and definitely for this one. We do not take any of this for granted.
But look, also, if this is your first time, welcome. We're glad that you're here. And if you like what we're saying, if you think any of this is landing, the best place to start is at thenatureofeverything.com. And you can purchase the book, Confirm It, Own It, Be Intentional, and change the nature of everything in your life.
Thanks for being here. We'll catch you Tuesday for a quick check-in, and then we'll be back here on Friday for the return.
I dig it.
Before you go, just know it's time. Time to connect. Time to change the nature of everything. Find us at thenatureofeverything.com and don't stay stuck.